Next, on Currents News, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Rome meeting with church leaders over the renewal of an agreement between the Vatican and China. We're on the ground in Rome with a full report.
The question is, Justice, radical left. Will you shut up, man?
The first presidential debate devolves into a chaotic shouting match between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden.
It's a model unlike any other in the Brooklyn Diocese. I'm Jessica Easthope with why Cathedral Prep says being together every day is best.
Plus, St. Michael's Church in Flushing welcomes dozens of people of faith into the Catholic Church. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. Despite objections from the U.S. government, the Holy See is renewing its deal with China. The Vatican says the deal, which is expiring on October 22nd, has nothing to do with politics or diplomacy. It is exclusively pastoral. The agreement is about the process for the appointment of bishops. A delegation from the Vatican will travel to Beijing to sign the pact in a few days. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said the Vatican was putting its moral authority at risk by renewing this pact. He is in Italy to meet with Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin about the deal. CLAUDIA TORRES has this special report from Rome.
The U.S. Embassy to the Holy See is holding a symposium in Rome on advancing and defending international religious freedom through diplomacy, highlighting the mutual commitment of the United States and the Vatican to fight for basic human rights around the globe.
Today's symposium is being live.
To that end, controversy is mounting over the Holy See's intention to renew a 2-year provisional agreement with China regarding the nomination of bishops. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo opposes the extension, criticizing China several times during the conference.
Nowhere, however, nowhere is religious freedom under assault more than it is inside of China today. That's because, as with all communist regimes, the Chinese Communist Party deems itself the ultimate moral authority. An increasingly repressive CCP, frightened by its own lack of democratic legitimacy, works day and night to snuff out the lamp of freedom, especially religious freedom, on a horrifying scale.
Following the symposium, Pompeo's comments prompted Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin to respond to questions regarding the Holy See's agreement with China, saying the Vatican prefers a politics of small steps. We believe that every result, even if it isn't striking, even if it isn't eye-catching, even if at first perhaps it seems to not yield big results, is however a step forward toward the affirmation also of greater religious freedom. The Vatican continues to defend its position on China, though many Catholics are concerned that the agreement could make things worse for the faithful in the communist country. And though Pompeo did not meet with Pope Francis, the symposium underlines the United States and the Holy See's common goal to defend religious freedom. In Rome, CLAUDIA TORRES, Currents News.
Cardinal Pell is back in Rome following his acquittal on child sex abuse charges in Australia. This marks his first return to Italy since he was released from prison 6 months ago. The Vatican has not said if he would meet with Pope Francis while in Rome. Pell served at the Vatican from 2014 to 2019 as the Minister of Economy managing Pope Francis's financial reforms. In 2018, Pell became the most senior Catholic official to be convicted of child abuse. He served 13 months in prison before the case was overturned by Australia's High Court. President Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, is meeting with GOP senators. Among those Barrett is sitting down with Senator Mitt Romney. Nominees traditionally meet with senators ahead of confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee. She has already visited with Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Vice President Mike Pence. Some Democratic senators, including Chuck Schumer, will not meet with Barrett because they view the confirmation process as illegitimate.
We got to admit there's a bit of gratitude and pride to know she takes her Catholic faith seriously, but that's not why she was nominated as a justice of the Supreme Court, is it? I think she's nominated because she's the best candidate around.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan speaking on the Catholic Channel on Sirius XM. He also said that while he has never met Barrett, he has heard from people who know her and they rave about her character and her integrity. The retired Archbishop of Philadelphia, Charles Chaput, says criticism of Amy Coney Barrett is part of a virus of anti-Catholic bigotry. In an essay for the magazine First Things, he warned that public attacks on the nominee's faith constitute a wider threat to religious liberty. Several media outlets have focused on Barrett's membership in People of Praise, a charismatic ecumenical community. The first presidential debate between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden was chaotic, so much so that the Commission on Presidential Debates is going to revamp the formats for the upcoming debates because it says last night demonstrated the need for more structure to ensure an orderly discussion. Currents News' Emily Druby has more on last night's fiasco.
Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were
president America has ever had.
Contentious is the only way to describe Tuesday night's debate between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden.
That is absolutely not true.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen.
It started off seemingly strong as candidates discussed Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett. Biden arguing it's too close to an election to choose, while Trump argued it's his right.
I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is.
We won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her.
Barrett is a conservative, pro-life Catholic. From there, the debate started to unravel, becoming a series of name-calling and rude exchanges.
It's hard to get any word in with this clown.
The radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, you graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
All the while, moderator Chris Wallace of Fox News attempted to steer the candidates through 5 additional topics: their records, COVID-19, the economy, election integrity, and race and violence.
This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred.
We believe in law and order, but you don't.
Trump also disputing recent claims that he paid little to no income tax.
I paid millions of dollars in taxes.
Wallace had trouble keeping order in the debate. The issues seemed overshadowed by the hostile and chaotic tone.
Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
You graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
God.
Many Americans left with more questions than answers after the tumultuous 90 minutes. The next debate is scheduled for October 15th in Salt Lake City, Utah. Emily Druby, Currents News.
And coming up later in this newscast, we have political analyst Brian Browne from St. John's University here to give us a breakdown of the first presidential debate. That's still ahead in this newscast. Joe Biden has already committed to continuing on with the remaining 2 debates. His campaign saying the Democratic nominee wants to continue speaking directly to the American people. A big topic in last night's debate and throughout this election is the president's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Right now, cases are surging in nearly half of states across America. A stimulus relief package is back on the table, but will it be able to pass? Melissa Rainey has the latest.
Hopefully we will come to a bipartisan agreement that will remove all doubt that the legislation will pass and be signed by the president.
House Democrats unveiling a new scaled-down stimulus relief bill with a price tag of $2.2 trillion, a number that's still too high for the White House and the GOP-controlled Senate.
They have a new offer on the table. We don't think the numbers are right. $2.2 trillion, which is a very big number.
This as cases surge amongst college-age people just as universities reopened. CDC researchers reporting it is likely that some of this increase is linked to resumption of in-person attendance at some colleges and universities.
There are areas of the country where we're starting to see the uptick in test positivity, which is generally a predictor that you're going to start seeing surges.
Now, at least 7 states are seeing all-time record highs in weekly averages for new cases. Hospitalizations have hit a record high in Missouri. Tennessee is extending a state of emergency through October, and Florida reporting its highest number of cases in 10 days. Tampa's International Airport is now the first in the country to offer 2 types of tests to all passengers.
We're going to build confidence on the part of the traveling public by giving them an opportunity to have a test done right here at the airport before they get on a flight.
I'm Melissa Rainey reporting.
It was a big day for restaurants in the Big Apple as indoor dining officially opens. Of course, eating inside will be different due to the coronavirus. Besides only allowing 25% capacity, Mayor Bill de Blasio has required the following safety measures for all restaurants: temperature checks at the front door, contact info for each party, tables spaced 6 feet apart, bar tops closed for seating, and PPE for employees. As restaurants open inside dining, 11 New York bars have lost their liquor licenses due to COVID. The bars, 5 of which were in Brooklyn and Queens, were cited for violations such as customers who were not social distancing or not wearing face masks or having too many guests on the premises. So far, 217 New York State businesses have lost their licenses for COVID violations. Still ahead, breaking down the debate, political analyst Brian Browne from St. John's University joins us. Plus, churches finally reopening in San Francisco after being closed for months because of tough and what Catholics there called unfair restrictions. And it's the only school in the Brooklyn Diocese with 100% in-person learning. How Cathedral Prep in Elmhurst is making that happen. And St. Michael's in Flushing welcomes dozens into the Catholic faith.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
Insults and interruptions, that seem to be the theme of last night's debate. Our political expert Brian Browne from St. John's joins us now to give us his take on the debate debacle. And Brian, both President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden spent the 90 minutes talking over each other. There was name calling, just plain rudeness. And there was one part that a lot of people are talking about today. Let's listen in.
Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
would you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
I actually had to rewind what I was watching because I was like, who said that? You know, what was going through your head while watching this debate?
Well, the debate was an embarrassment, and it doesn't even merit the title of a debate. It was really a distressing demonstration of the decline of discourse in our American democracy. It was terrible from start to finish.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what happened to civility? Have we ever seen this before, and how did we get here?
Well, I think it really is, sadly, a sign of the times. You see it on social media. You see it actually in real life often. You know, we have lost that ability to disagree without being so disagreeable. And it really, you know, I think President Trump's strategy was to come out of the box on offense, but he quickly went from offense to offensive. And Joe Biden, you know, I think his campaign strategy up until last night was to be the adult in the room and have that healer type of way about him. But even he slipped into the ugly discourse. It was awful.
Right. And do you think the moderator, Chris Wallace, could have done better? President Trump seemed to have issues with him. Let's listen to this.
So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Fine. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised.
What do you think? Do you think he was doing all he could to control them? And also, do you think he was kind of taking sides? He said, I'm debating him or you.
You know, as I was watching this last night, I really thought this should have been held on Zoom, where the moderator could have just muted the mics, because that's really what you needed, a switch to turn off the back and forth. I felt for Chris Wallace. I think he had a tough job, but there were times where I thought that he could have stepped in or interceded sooner. You know, it's almost like being a teacher in the classroom or an adult in the room. You have to set the tone early. And he did not do that, and he let it go on too much. And, you know, it wasn't a good night for him either.
Yeah, funny, adult in the room for a presidential debate. But the candidates were asked about the Supreme Court, and Biden did have words on that. Let's listen in.
The justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person.
Yeah, Joe Biden saying there that he liked the president's pick, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, but a lot of the Democratic Party doesn't. Senator Schumer wouldn't even meet with her. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it puts him in a tight spot because at one point last night he said that he was the Democratic Party, But then to your point, many of the Democratic senators are boycotting even meeting with Judge Barrett. So not a good spot for him to be in. He also did not come out very clearly and say that he was against the idea of packing the Supreme Court in the event that Judge Barrett does successfully move through the process. So he was a little stilted and unclear on that issue.
All right, so all in all, who do you think won the debate?
Well, I can tell you who lost, and that's the American people. You know, I think in one sense, Joe Biden, you could say he won by not losing. You know, he avoided some major gaffes and malaprops, which he's prone to. But he did not have a great night. President Trump clearly, you know, was way too offensive and too over the top. So I would kind of call it a draw or maybe a wash, and we'll see what happens next time.
All right, Brian Brown, political science professor at St. John's University. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for the vice president's debate.
Thank you.
After months of intense planning and preparation, Cathedral Prep opened its doors for in-person learning. It's the only high school in the Brooklyn Diocese that has all of its students back in the classroom. Currents News' Jessica Easthope is in Elmhurst and shows us how they're doing it.
Morning, sir.
Last school year, when Cathedral Prep was holding classes online, the students' days started very differently.
That's what your boy said.
Now, at least this part is back to normal. Every morning, Principal Richie Diaz and President Father James Caroli are outside to fist bump and greet all 160 students.
We talking about the Celtics, or we're just pretending it didn't happen? Okay.
The personal touch is part of what makes the school so special.
It's very heartwarming. It's nice to see them every morning. It's nice to hear, how was your day? How was your weekend? Weekend was good.
With students, parents, and teachers on board, Cathedral Prep began the school year together. It's the only school in the Brooklyn Diocese that has an all-in-person school day.
This is the reciprocal.
They make it work with a big school, small classes, and some chalk.
Everything that this place taught me about academics, but also about character development, is what I hope to pass on to them as their principal. I think the fact that we can do in-person instruction makes that possible.
While taking every precaution possible to stay safe,
Temperature detected is normal.
the day starts like every other.
Let us pray.
With Mass.
Body of Christ.
Cathedral Prep's focus on an intense curriculum is clear. But the school is just as serious about faith.
The spiritual program of challenging our young men to heroic virtue has to take place when they are in person inside this building.
For the students, faith is what's getting them through these uncertain times.
Showing how we're all here together, how we're all making the best of this, it really shows that we are supposed to have faith.
In-person learning at Cathedral Prep goes hand in hand with the sense of home students have walking through the halls. That feeling is what's making Ronicio Cervantes comfortable during his first weeks of high school.
It just lets us feel human again. We get to be with people, we get to talk with people.
So when it comes to this ambitious school model and living out Cathedral Prep's mission of forming men for greatness, it's personal. In Elmhurst, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
It may have been 6 months later than originally planned, but almost 6 dozen people of faith have finally become Catholics. The Mass to induct the RCIA candidates took place this past Sunday at St. Michael's Church in Flushing. Around 70 people were baptized and confirmed by Brooklyn Auxiliary Bishop Raymond Geppetto. That liturgy was originally supposed to take place at the Easter Vigil. Bishop Geppetto has this message for the new Catholics.
I encourage them to be faithful to the promises that they make and to allow the Holy Spirit to guide them in their daily life. They are the apostles, they are the evangelizers, they're the ones that are going to go out and grow the numbers and bring in more people each and every year.
Of those 70 Catholics, more than half of them were Chinese, the rest were Latino. Worshippers in San Francisco are singing hallelujah as churches in the city are opened again for indoor services. The mayor allowing masses to resume at 25% capacity or up to 100 people starting today. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone of San Francisco thanked the mayor for the decision, as well as the thousands of Catholics who recently took part in a protest against the city's worshiping restrictions. Prayers are needed in California's wine country. The wildfire there has more than tripled in size. Fire crews are struggling to get a handle on the glass fire, which they say is burning 1 acre every 5 seconds. The fire started on Sunday and quickly spread through Napa Valley and Sonoma County, torching nearly 47,000 acres. More than 100 buildings, including homes and wineries, have been destroyed. More than 70,000 people in Sonoma and Napa counties have been told to evacuate. But as Stephanie Sierra reports, some are staying, putting their faith in God and trying to save their own neighborhoods.
Dave Babcock calls himself an ordinary guy, but to his neighbors, he's a hero.
Well, I have just been going around here and cleaning out the gutters on these houses, especially this side of the street, trying to make them safer. Often you see houses start on fire, and it's the gutters.
Overnight, he's been taking turns with his neighbor to track the glass fire and keep the 6 homes on his street in Angwin safe.
I was up most of the night just kind of watering stuff and watching where it was going.
This is brave, what you're doing. Do you get scared?
Oh, no, I'm a firm believer in God. I pray a lot.
Evacuee William Kenner is also relying on his faith, even though he already lost everything.
12 vehicles, 2 cabins. It's been in my family for 105 years.
It's gone.
Yep, all gone.
Now, all he can do is try to help.
I'm trying to protect my friend's place, but it burned all around there on Hardin Road last month. And now all of a sudden this kicks off on Glass Mountain, so we're just expecting it to come over the hill. Just doing the best we can.
Hoping his distant neighbors don't live through the same pain.
Again, that was Stephanie Sierra reporting. Unfortunately, the glass fire is far from over. The National Weather Service has issued a fire weather watch with wind and scorching heat back in the forecast tomorrow. Still to come on Currents News, the COVID-19 Emergency Task Force, which was organized by the Diocese of Brooklyn, is honored for helping those on the front lines. And what one nonprofit is serving up to get you to go out and vote. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. They've been helping the helpers since the beginning of the pandemic. So now the COVID-19 Emergency Task Force is being honored. The task force, which was organized by the Diocese of Brooklyn, was recognized by Nassau County Executive Laura Curran this morning. This after handing out PPE and meals to hundreds of thousands of frontline workers at hospitals, firehouses, and police precincts across Long Island and New York City. And finally tonight, keeping with the food theme, here's a little incentive to get you out to the polls. How about getting fed while standing in line to cast your ballot? Well, that's the plan of the nonprofit World Central Kitchen. They're kicking off #Chefs for the Polls. They're teaming up with local food trucks and restaurants to offer free meals to voters at polling stations. So who knows, maybe you'll get to vote and eat. Sounds good to me. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. I hope to see you again next time.